Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Duke Vidal, your favorite lo-fi music beanie wearing YouTuber, because here in Savannah it dropped to 35 degrees at about 2 in the morning, so that's pretty fun. But it is nothing but Black Metal November, and I haven't uploaded this whole month, which is kind of against what I would normally do. So I thought I'd feed you guys with some sustenance that was apart from my chart, something that was near and dear to me, and it kind of works for this series as well. This is a black metal album we'll be talking about today. This is Internal Cold's Perception of Death. This is an album on Spotify. It says an EP, but it's a full length. And this is a band from Russia, and they are a dsbm project. And dsbm is one of those really unique little facets of black metal, as it has so much going on for being such a minute little area to look at. In terms of depressing black metal, you'd think, how many things could that sound like if normal black metal, especially today, has really pinned itself into this really niche area that really no band seems to be able to break out of, and it kind of suffers a lot for that. Now, of course, you look at dsbm and you can have bands like Leviathan, or you could have bands like Make a Change, Kill Yourself, and they sound nothing alike. And you look at modern day dsbm, unfortunately, you have a lot of bands that try to copy Make a Change, Kill Yourself, or Forgotten Tomb, or like Abyssic Hate, any of those bands, or they take the black gaze route, or they do the post-punk route, which leads to pretty varying success. And then I found Internal Cold here, and one day I just listened to them, and then I found it to be quite a profound listen and a very interesting one. Now, the name of the game in black metal, as many people would say, is repetition. You know, you get a lot of black metal songs that or albums rather, you look at it and you're probably thinking to yourself, especially if you've never listened to metal before, like, how could that be a 6, 7, 8 minute song there? Like how do you pack in all the riffs? How do you pack in all this stuff? Especially if you know what the black metal riff sounds like, you know, the ones that Mayhem and Thorns kind of invented, where it's all tremolo and classical inspired, and you're thinking, how could that maintain for that long? Well, it's the repetition, you know. Bands like Forest could easily have just 2 riffs and it lasts the whole time. Now, no band does this in a more interesting way than Internal Cold, because they, more than anything else, sound like post-rock and post-metal. I talked about a band last year that almost won my album of the year, my number 2 pick actually, Illudium, that does a very similar thing. And this band here, they will repeat a riff for potentially a whole song, and it really makes the whole atmosphere of this just sink in and just crush you. And what I mentioned with this post-metal thing, this is like a mix between like Silencer, maybe. Like, honestly, you could name a few different dsbm bands here. And also mix it with ISIS, but you make it a lot darker, where you have these single riffs that build. They repeat, yeah, sure, but you know, they'll add distortion halfway through. You'll add vocals on top, which the vocals are pretty excellent on this album as well. Pretty standard dsbm stuff, you know, the agonized wailing, but you know, who can't get enough of that? And the drumming on this album is something that's really cool too. It reminds me a bit of Angelic Process, which is like that doom gaze band that people talk about sometimes, and where it's not electronic like how Angelic Process does, but it's this kind of muddied up, even though the rest of this album is relatively clear. It's this really lethargic sounding drum patterns that just keep the momentum barely, and it just makes the whole thing slow down and is really satisfying. But the whole emotions behind this thing are super crushing. And you've got this album here has 6 songs. First 3 songs are these post-metal inspired ones, and the next 3 are a little bit different, where it gets a little bit heavier, a little bit riffier, a bit faster, and certainly more dissonant. If you look at the last song here, Cult of Yog-Sothoth, it almost sounds more Bethlehem inspired, where you get the little bits of doom metal here and there, the much more crushing riffs. Tremolo riffs actually don't even show up till the second half of the album. But if you take this whole thing as a whole here, and you take this sort of logical narrative it almost follows of the progression between the post-metal and the more heavy side of black metal and dsbm, it really shows how much better this is listening to it in one full listen rather than as separate songs, because it will crush you over and over again. And this thing is super cold, pretty clear, and you just bob along to it the whole time. It is a phenomenal album. One of the better albums I've listened to this year. Very enjoyable if you're not reaching for the toaster, you know, because this thing it's pretty depressing. You know, it does feel pretty real, pretty rough overall, but I love this thing. And that's all the time I have for today. So I hope you guys have a good day. Bye.